There comes a moment in every life when the invisible begins to rearrange itself for your favor. A moment when destiny starts moving, not loudly, not with chaos, but quietly, like the first light before sunrise. You may not see drastic change yet. You may still wake up in the same room, walk through the same challenges, face the same battles. But something has shifted. The energy has turned. The big win you have prayed for, believed for, prepared for is on its way. Your life does not change when the world changes. It changes when you do. When your inner assumptions shift, the world must follow. The victory does not come from outside forces deciding to be kind to you. It comes from the conviction within you rising like a giant and declaring, "My success is inevitable." When you claim something in your heart, the universe must deliver it into your hand. There is a law that governs all creation. What you assume as real becomes real. The moment you accepted that you are worthy of more, the moment you stop settling for less than what you desire, the moment you refuse to repeat the same old narrative, that's when the shift began. That's when the wind started moving toward you. Right now, while you're listening to these words, doors are unlocking that you cannot yet see. People are talking about your name in rooms you haven't entered. Opportunities that once seemed impossible are being aligned with your path. Everything is synchronizing for your good, orchestrated with precision beyond human understanding. You may have been in a long season of waiting for the healing, waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the resources, waiting for the yes that changes everything. And perhaps this waiting made you doubt whether anything was happening at all. But the seed grows before the plant is visible. The shift happens before the blessing arrives. The answer forms before it reaches your hands. Do not judge your future by what your physical eyes see at the moment. The physical is always the last to show what has already been completed spiritually. There is a powerful truth you must hold. You are not chasing your big win, it is moving toward you. Life responds to who you believe yourself to be. If you believe you are chosen, favored, destined, life has no choice but to reflect that belief. The moment you accept peace, chaos loses power. The moment you accept abundance, lack collapses. The moment you accept success, failure becomes irrelevant. You do not need to fight for what is already yours. You only need to assume it and feel it fulfilled. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the victory already here. Imagine the message you will receive, the call that will change your path, the celebration of a new chapter. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy that comes when everything finally works out. When you feel the end as though it has already happened, the end must show itself. Your imagination is not daydreaming, it is the blueprint of your destiny. It is the place where things are created before they appear. Every great transformation begins in that inner world. Stand firm in your assumption that the tide has turned. Stand firm in your belief that things are shifting. Stand firm in your knowing that a big win is on its way now. You have come too far for the story to stop here. All the challenges, all the struggles, all the disappointments, they were not signs of failure, but signs of preparation. The pressure was shaping you into the version of yourself who is ready to hold the blessing. And when the blessing, you are stepping into a season where everything aligns effortlessly, where what once felt distant suddenly becomes obvious, where you look back and say, it was worth every moment of waiting. And in fact, it may seem your breakthrough is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of identity. You were designed for greatness. You were built for abundance. You were chosen for victory, and what is chosen must manifest. The moment you dared to believe in more, the universe responded. A major breakthrough has already been set in motion in the unseen. Long before you witness the change with your physical eyes, the transformation begins in the invisible realm. Every desire, every prayer, every dream you have held in your heart has already initiated a ripple of movement behind the scenes. What you believe, what you imagine, what you expect, these are not empty thoughts. They are creative forces. The moment you decided you wanted more, the moment you aligned your heart with a higher possibility, something in the unseen world responded. Breakthroughs rarely announce themselves at the beginning. They do not shout, they do not display. They develop quietly. Like a seed planted deep beneath the soil, growth happens without proof. There are no immediate signs, no explanations, no obvious validation. But still change is happening. The roots are forming, the foundation is being established. Just because you cannot see it yet does not mean it isn't already on its way to becoming real. Too often people doubt themselves in this invisible stage. They look around and see no evidence, so they assume nothing is working. They look at the same circumstances and think their prayer went unheard. But the unseen world is always a step ahead of the seen. What appears still in your life is actually shifting. What appears delayed is being delivered in perfect timing. What appears silent is quietly speaking favor over you. There are resources right now aligning with your path, resources you do not yet know exist. There are connections being orchestrated, people you haven't met who will be essential to your victory. There are opportunities preparing to intersect your life at the exact moment you are ready. Everything that belongs to you is already forming, already moving, already being arranged in your favor. Your belief is the activation. Every time you choose faith over fear, you lift the path higher. Every time you refuse to settle for what contradicts your desire, you magnetize what aligns with your purpose. Breakthrough does not begin when you see the outcome. It begins when you claim the outcome. It begins in the imagination, in the acceptance, in the inner knowing that what you desire is yours. The unseen is not uncertain. It is secure. It is the truest reality because it is not yet influenced by doubt or delay. The unseen carries pure intention. It carries your future success untouched by fear. That is why you must not give up just because you cannot track the progress. You do not need to see movement to trust that movement is happening. You only need to hold your belief steady long enough for the invisible to become visible. Right now, a major breakthrough is nearing completion in the realm you cannot yet touch. The moment is approaching when it will break through the surface and become undeniable. You will look back at this very season and realize that what you thought was stillness was preparation. What you felt was silence was orchestration. What looked empty was actually full of promise. Your breakthrough isn't waiting to start, it has already been set in motion. And soon, what was once unseen will show up as the greatest blessing of your life. Your inner shift, not outside circumstances, is what attracts the big win. All true change begins within you, not around you. So many people spend their lives trying to force the world to change in their favor, waiting for others to treat them better, waiting for opportunities to appear, waiting for luck to finally choose them. But the outer world does not transform until the inner world does. The moment you change how you see yourself, the moment you rise in your own belief, the moment you align your thoughts and feelings with the life you desire, that is when everything external begins to shift. Your assumptions about yourself are like magnets. If you assume lack, you attract lack. If you assume success, you attract success. Life mirrors what you believe you deserve, and belief is not formed by what you see, but by what you decide to accept as truth on the inside. You can be surrounded by challenges and still carry a victorious identity. You can face temporary setbacks and still feel unstoppable in your spirit. That inner stance is what calls the big win forth. The world you live in today is a reflection of the thoughts and assumptions you held yesterday. So when you want a new outcome, you don't look outward, you look inward. Transformation is not about forcing change, but becoming the version of yourself that naturally attracts it. When you upgrade your self-concept, when you stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles and begin to see yourself as someone who succeeds, everything in your reality must adjust. The inner shift is a declaration. It's the moment you stop asking whether you are capable and start knowing that you are. It is the moment you stop begging for blessings and start embodying the blessed version of yourself. It is the moment you stop waiting for permission and start claiming your destiny. As your internal identity rises, the outer world has no choice but to respond. A big win doesn't arrive because conditions are perfect. It arrives because you are in alignment. You are no longer doubting, hoping, or wishing. You are assuming, expecting, and feeling the end already fulfilled. When you live emotionally in the victory before it arrives physically, the universe confirms your assumption. Even if nothing around you visibly changes today, do not be fooled. The change has already begun inside you. Every doubt you replace with certainty strengthens the foundation for your breakthrough. Every fearful thought you replace with faith accelerates the manifestation. Every grateful feeling you hold, even before the blessing arrives, opens the door wider. Circumstances are followers, not leaders. They follow the direction of your deepest belief. So decide right now that you are not waiting for the win, you are welcoming it. You are not hoping to succeed, you are stepping into success. You are not trying to become worthy, you already are. The shift has already started because you have changed within. And when the inside transforms, the outside has no choice but to rise to match it. Your big win is simply the world catching up to who you have already become. What you assume and accept as truth determines what manifests in your life. Every experience you call reality is shaped by the beliefs you hold most firmly within. You may think reality is something that happens to you, something controlled by luck, circumstance, or the actions of others, but in truth, life is reflecting back to you what you consistently assume to be true about yourself and your world. The invisible assumptions you carry are not harmless thoughts. They are powerful commands directing the course of your life. Your imagination does not create possibilities by chance. It creates the blueprint of your destiny. When you accept a thought as truth, you give it permission to appear in physical form. If you assume you are always overlooked, life will bring situations where you are unseen. If you assume that money is hard to come by, life will continue to tighten your financial circumstances. If you assume that love is out of reach, relationships will always feel like a losing battle. These assumptions become the structure of your existence. But here is the liberating truth. If your assumptions create your reality, then you are not stuck. You are powerful. The moment you choose to assume differently, reality must shift to mirror your new belief. When you decide, truly decide, that you are chosen, worthy, abundant, capable, and destined for more, the universe begins to transform to match that decision. A new assumption is not just a thought, it is a new identity. Change does not come from forcing the world to behave differently. It comes from changing what you believe is true for you. You must believe in the desired outcome so deeply that it feels natural, inevitable, unquestionable. When you accept success as your truth, opportunities emerge that once seemed impossible. When you accept healing as your truth, your body and circumstances begin to realign. When you accept love as your truth, relationships take on a new frequency. Every assumption carries a feeling, and that feeling is what manifests. You cannot say that you believe in abundance while feeling fear and lack inside. You cannot say that you will win while expecting disappointment. Your emotional acceptance is the signal that calls your desire into form. What you assume must be felt as done, as certain, as part of who you are now. Often, people sabotage their own manifestations by returning to their old assumptions too quickly. They plant the seed of a new belief, but when they don't see immediate evidence, they dig it up with doubt. You cannot demand proof and hold faith at the same time. You must persist in the assumption even when nothing seems to be happening, because something is happening. In the unseen, in the foundations of reality, in the energetic structure of your future. Your outer world is always behind your inner world. What you assume today will be what you live tomorrow. So choose your assumptions with intention. Accept the truth that empowers you, not the one that limits you. Claim a narrative that honors your dreams, not one that contradicts them. Once you accept the highest version of yourself as your truth, life will rise to meet that truth. Manifestation is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of what you choose to assume as real. The delay is not denial, it's preparation of the perfect outcome. When the things you desire don't arrive on your preferred timeline, it's easy to believe something has gone wrong. You start to worry that maybe the dream wasn't meant for you, that perhaps you misheard your calling, or that life is ignoring your belief. But what feels like delay is often strategic alignment. What seems like waiting is really shaping. What looks like silence is actually orchestration. There is a divine order working behind every scene of your life. The universe does not rush because it does not fear lack. It operates with perfect timing, placing every piece exactly where it needs to be. Sometimes you are ready for the blessing, but the blessing is not yet ready for you. Other times the blessing is ready, but you still need to grow into the version of yourself who can sustain it. Big wins require big capacity, and capacity is built in the waiting. Delay is the space where preparation happens. It is where strength is shaped, where clarity deepens, where character is refined. You are gaining the wisdom, discipline, and emotional stability that will allow you to hold your blessing without losing yourself. You are learning what you need to release so you can receive what is better. You are uncovering a stronger identity so that when the breakthrough arrives, you will be able to maintain it, protect it, and expand it. If everything you asked for showed up instantly, you might not value it, understand it, or even recognize it. The waiting teaches appreciation. It reveals what is truly important. It filters out the distractions that once pulled you away from your purpose. You are not simply waiting for the future is being sculpted around you. Think of a seed underground. Nothing appears to be happening, no growth is visible, the surface looks unchanged. But under the soil, roots are anchoring deep, preparing to burst through the ground with life. If someone judged that moment too soon, they might assume the seed had failed. But the delay is not failure, it is the very foundation of success. So when you feel stuck, do not confuse delayed timing with denied destiny. Life has a way of protecting you from less than you deserve. It removes what is too small. It redirects you from what would have harmed you. It pauses what would have arrived prematurely. The delay is a gift, a sign that something greater and more aligned is being prepared. Hold faith during the unseen process. Keep your vision active. Celebrate what is coming even before it arrives. Trust that when the right moment comes, things will happen faster than you can imagine. Doors will open that once seemed unmovable. Opportunities will appear effortlessly. What took months or years to prepare will manifest in a single moment of breakthrough. You are not being forgotten, you are being formed. You are not being denied, you are being delivered into the perfect alignment for your blessing. When everything comes together, you will look back and understand. The delay was not holding you back, it was setting you up for the greatest outcome of your life. Your belief is the invitation that summons your blessing. Nothing enters your life uninvited. Every good thing you desire is searching for a doorway, and that doorway is your belief. Belief is not merely optimism or wishful thinking, it is the inner conviction that what you desire is already yours. It is the mental and emotional acceptance of a reality not yet visible. When you believe with certainty, you are not hoping something will happen, you are acknowledging that it cannot fail to happen. Belief sends a clear signal to the universe, a declaration that you are ready to receive. It lifts you out of the energy of waiting and places you into the frequency of having. Many people ask for blessings, but deep down they doubt whether those blessings could ever arrive for them. That doubt acts like a closed door. Even though they desire more, their disbelief sends the message that they are not yet prepared to accept it. Blessings respond to expectation. When you believe, you align yourself with solutions, opportunities, connections, and breakthroughs that already exist for you in potential form. You become a magnet to the very things you have prayed for. Life does not withhold anything from you, but you can block your own good by refusing to believe in its possibility. Belief is power. It transforms the unseen into the seen. It converts spiritual promise into physical experience. When you choose to believe in a higher outcome, even when circumstances appear stagnant or challenging, you activate forces beyond the physical, forces that begin to move people, events, and timing in your favor. There is a reason. Success often begins long before success is visible. It begins the moment you see yourself differently. The moment you decide that your future does not depend on past limitations. The moment you stop questioning your worthiness. That is when the blessing receives its invitation. Belief opens the door. Belief says, "Come forward, for I am ready." Belief removes the barriers that once seemed immovable. It silences the voices of fear and doubt that try to convince you to shrink back. It allows the impossible to become logical, the unexpected to become natural. And belief must be persistent. It must continue even when nothing has changed yet in your outer world. When you hold on to belief in the silence, in the waiting, in the uncertainty, that is when your invitation becomes irresistible. You are proving that you trust the blessing is real even before you can hold it. And when you believe like that, the universe rushes to meet your certainty. Blessings arrive where belief lives. They gravitate to faith-filled imaginations, to hearts that already feel the success, to minds that already see the victory. Belief is not something you apply after the miracle. Belief is what births the miracle. Right now, every desire in your heart is waiting to be welcomed. Your blessing is not far. It is at the door. So stand in your belief. Claim the outcome. Expect the breakthrough. Because the moment you truly believe, you have already summoned the blessing into your life. Life from the feeling of the victory that is already yours. The greatest secret to manifesting what you desire is to emotionally step into the outcome before it becomes physical. Most people wait to celebrate until the success appears, but the ones who transform their lives live from the celebration before the evidence arrives. When you feel victorious now, reality must rearrange itself to match that inner state. You are not pretending, you are aligning with the truth that already exists in the unseen. Every accomplishment begins first as a feeling of certainty, of joy, of relief, of fulfillment. When you embody those emotions ahead of time, you send a powerful message to the universe. The outcome has already happened. By living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you eliminate doubt, fear, and hesitation. You raise your identity to the level of your desire. You stop asking, when will it come, and start declaring, it is already mine. The feeling of victory is not just excitement, it is grounded assurance. It is the deep knowing that no matter what the physical world shows right now, the end result is guaranteed. It is the inner voice confidently saying, I have won, I am chosen. I am living the reality that once lived only in my imagination. When you anchor yourself in that state of mind, the universe responds, because emotion is the energetic signature of creation. Think about how you would live if the blessing had already arrived. How would you walk? How would you speak? What decisions would you make? How would you treat yourself? What standards would you hold? Step into that version of yourself now. If you are waiting for the outer world to change before you feel victorious, you are operating backwards. The feeling comes first, the change follows. This emotional alignment is not a game of fantasy. It is the most practical action you can take. When you feel abundance, you naturally behave in ways that attract more. When you feel confident, you show up with strength and clarity. When you feel loved, you become a magnet for deeper, more meaningful relationships. Your actions evolve to match the identity of someone who already has the victory, and life responds in kind. There will be moments when doubt tries to return, when circumstances tempt you to lower your vision back to what you see. In those moments, remind yourself, the physical is always the last to show what is already true in the spirit. Refuse to let temporary illusions dictate your permanent promise. Choose the feeling of fulfillment again and again, even in silence, even in waiting, even when the results haven't surfaced. You are not hoping for victory, you are remembering it. You are not wishing for the outcome, You are stepping into what you already secured through belief. When you persist in the feeling of the end must show itself. Victory is not a distant event, it is your current identity. You are living from the triumph that has already been written in your favor. The world is simply catching up to who you have already become. Everything you have been believing for, everything you have been preparing for, everything you have been holding in faith is already making its way into your reality. The shift has begun. You are no longer waiting for the big win, you are aligning with it. You are no longer hoping for breakthrough. You are living from the truth that breakthrough is guaranteed. The unseen has already moved in your favor, and soon the visible world will reveal what has been unfolding silently all along. Continue to stand in your belief. Continue to speak from victory. Continue to walk as the person who has already received every blessing destined for them. Your story is transforming. Your life is rising. Your win is approaching quickly, and nothing can stop it. What belongs to you is coming with certainty, acceleration, and divine timing. Thank you for listening, and thank you for believing in the greatness that is already yours. The best chapter of your life is now beginning. There comes a moment in every journey where the visible world seems painfully slow, where nothing appears to be shifting, and you wonder if all your inner work, your prayers, your imaginal discipline, your persistence has been in vain. But what you do not see is far more powerful than what you do. Behind the scenes, a reality you have already claimed is weaving itself into form with perfect precision. Life is not ignoring you. It is aligning itself with the state you have accepted as true. You must understand something profound. The outer world is the final echo, not the beginning. Every outcome, every breakthrough, every blessing is first born in the invisible. And once it exists within you, it must externalize, just as surely as a shadow must follow its source. So if right now the scene around you seems unchanged, don't mistake silence for stagnation. A seed does not sprout the moment it touches the soil, yet beneath the surface it is bursting, forming, preparing for the light. Your inner conversations, the assumptions you persist in despite appearances, are the blueprints of your unfolding life. If you hold the end so firmly that you feel it as real, then the world is obligated to reflect it. It has no choice. Reality bends to the one who refuses to surrender their inner state. This is why it is essential to keep going. Not because the path is hard, but because the harvest is already yours. You are merely walking to where it has been placed. Every day you persist, every moment you return to the end, every time you choose the feeling of fulfillment over the evidence of delay, you accelerate the process. You become aligned with what is meant for you. And let me remind you, the greatest movements happen when nothing seems to be happening at all. The phone call you need, the opportunity forming, the person deciding, the shift arranging, the doors preparing to open. All of this is in motion long before it reaches your senses. Life does not reveal the construction phase, it shows you only the finished product. That is why faith is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. So hold your vision, return to it often, live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, become the version of you who already has what you desire. When your inner state is consistent, your outer world must bow to it. It must reorganize itself to match the reality you have assumed. You are closer than you think. You are standing in the hallway between your old story and your new manifestation. And though hallways feel empty, they lead to rooms already prepared for you. And your unseen world is far more alive and active than you realize. While the external world appears to move at its own pace, the true work, the real orchestration of your life, is happening in the invisible realm. Every thought you think, every feeling you harbor, every assumption you carry quietly shapes the foundation upon which your future unfolds. It is easy to mistake the lack of immediate evidence as stagnation, but what is unseen operates on a timeline that does not conform to your impatience. The pieces are being arranged long before your senses perceive any movement, and the subtle mechanics of reality are quietly aligning themselves with the state you have embraced internally. The unseen world responds not to your fleeting desires or passing whims, but to the beliefs you hold as true. When you imagine a scene vividly and feel it as if it already exists, you are planting a seed in the fertile soil of the invisible. That seed, nurtured by the consistency of your attention and feeling, begins to grow and organize itself into a pattern that must eventually manifest. The moment it takes form externally is not the beginning of its existence. It is merely the unveiling of what has already been completed behind the scenes. This is why it is so critical to guard your inner life, to protect it from doubt and distraction. The unseen does not negotiate. It obeys the laws of consciousness precisely. Often, life appears to lag, and the delay can tempt you to abandon your inner work. Yet, these pauses are never signs of failure. They are the quiet periods of construction, the moments when the threads of your desire are being woven together in ways too intricate for the human eye to detect. Like an artist meticulously sketching a masterpiece before the first stroke of color is visible, the unseen world is preparing the environment, the circumstances, and even the people who will serve your vision. Everything is moving, though it may feel as if nothing is. Understanding this requires a shift in perspective. You are not waiting for the world to act on your behalf. The world is responding to the state you inhabit. If your mind is scattered, your feelings inconsistent, your belief fragile, then the unseen will hesitate, adjust, or delay its work. But when you embody the reality you desire with unwavering conviction, every unseen element aligns, doors begin to open, opportunities appear, coincidences multiply, and what once seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. The unseen world is patient and precise. It does not rush or stumble. It operates with perfect timing and infinite wisdom. Your role is not to force it or to constantly question it, but to maintain your state of faith, clarity, and inner knowing. The unseen has already completed what you seek. Your task is to persist in the awareness of that completion, to live as if it has already arrived, and to trust that the manifestation will follow naturally. Every delayed sign, every apparent obstacle is simply part of the unseen arrangement, orchestrating events, people, and circumstances with precision. When you grasp this truth, you move with serenity rather than anxiety, knowing that your desires are being fulfilled, even before the evidence is visible. The unseen is alive, responsive, and always working in your favor. The faith, persistence, and unwavering attention ensure that when the time is right, the evidence will finally appear, revealing the intricate work that has been quietly unfolding all along. Everything you experience in life begins as an assumption within your own consciousness. The thoughts you habitually entertain, the beliefs you quietly nurture, and the inner images you persistently dwell upon act as the architects of your external reality. Life does not randomly happen to you, it is a reflection of what you hold as true in your mind. Every circumstance, every relationship, every event is ultimately a mirror of your internal assumption. What you accept internally as real will inevitably manifest externally, because the world outside is merely a shadow of the world within. Assumptions are not just fleeting thoughts, they are powerful forces that shape the foundation upon which your entire life is built. When you assume something will occur, when you hold it as an inevitable reality, your subconscious mind begins to organize your experiences around that assumption. It aligns your actions, your perceptions, and even the behavior of others with the reality you have chosen internally. Conversely, doubts, fears, and contradictory assumptions produce a life that reflects uncertainty, struggle, and delay. The key lies not in the effort you expend outwardly, but in the consistency of the inner state you maintain. Persistence in your assumptions is the true measure of creative power. A single fleeting thought may spark an idea, but it is the continued, unwavering assumption of a desired outcome that establishes the stage on which your life unfolds. Like a director carefully planning every scene of a play, your internal assumptions dictate the scenery, the actors, and the sequence of events. If you persist in imagining success, fulfillment, and harmony, your external circumstances will gradually conspire to support that vision. If your assumptions are filled with lack, fear, or doubt, your environment will reflect the same. The universe does not argue with what you assume, it simply brings forth the circumstances that match your persistent inner state. The moment you realize that your inner world is the blueprint of your outer life, you gain control over the seemingly uncontrollable. You begin to see that external chaos is merely the result of conflicting or unexamined assumptions. By consciously choosing what you assume and maintaining that assumption with faith, you begin to reshape the stage of your life. You become the playwright, director, and lead actor in your own unfolding story. Each day, every thought, every feeling contributes to the setting, the plot, and the outcome. It is also essential to understand that this process does not always produce immediate results. The outer world must align with your inner assumption in its own time and manner, often beyond your immediate perception. Yet, the power of persistence ensures that no matter how long it takes, the life that corresponds to your inner assumption will manifest. Your assumption, held firmly and lived consistently, becomes a gravitational force, drawing circumstances, people, and events into alignment with your vision. The stage on which your life stands is not created by chance, effort, or external conditions. It is constructed entirely by what you assume and persist in internally. Your outer world is the inevitable reflection of your inner state. The clarity, consistency, and conviction with which you hold your assumptions determine not only the scenery and events, but also the quality of your entire life experience. To master your life, therefore, is to master your assumptions and persist in them with unwavering belief, knowing that the world around you will faithfully mirror the reality you have chosen within. Delays are often misunderstood. When something you deeply desire does not arrive as quickly as you expect, it is easy to assume that life is against you, that your dreams are slipping away, or that your efforts are in vain. Yet, delays are not denials. They are the hidden, quiet construction of your desire, the unseen preparation that must take place before the manifestation can appear in your physical reality. Every delay has a purpose. It is a sign that the process of creation is moving with precision unseen by your senses, and that the fulfillment of your desire is being meticulously arranged. The outer world operates on visible evidence, but the inner world operates on assumption, feeling, and faith. Your desires are first established in the invisible realm, and before they can be reflected outside, they require alignment at every level: mental, emotional, and spiritual. Delays are the silent period in which this alignment occurs. They are the time when circumstances are being ordered, opportunities are being prepared, and people and events are being guided into their proper positions. What appears as waiting or stagnation is actually an active, deliberate process in the unseen realm, working to bring your inner vision into exact harmony with reality. It is important to recognize that delays are not accidental. They occur because your desire is being perfected, because the timing must be right for the fullest expression of your vision. Rushing the process or succumbing to doubt can disrupt this delicate unfolding. On the other hand, patience and persistence strengthen your inner alignment. Each day that you continue to embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled, each moment you maintain faith instead of frustration, you are accelerating the unseen construction of your desire. The delay is simply a necessary stage, ensuring that what comes forth will be complete, abundant, and perfectly timed. Many fail to see the wisdom in delays because they judge reality by appearances alone. They expect immediate results and become anxious or discouraged when none arrive. But the truth is that what is coming for you is already finished in the unseen. It simply must follow the sequence of preparation before it can manifest visibly. Think of it like a building under construction. The framework, the plumbing, the wiring, all essential elements must be installed before the walls can be painted. To focus solely on the visible result is to miss the importance of the preparation happening behind the scenes. Understanding that delays are not denials allows you to maintain peace, clarity, and faith during the waiting period. You begin to see that every pause, every moment of apparent inactivity is actually a sign that your desire is being organized, refined, and brought into form with absolute precision. The unseen forces are working tirelessly, silently, and with perfect intelligence to deliver exactly what you have assumed and persisted in. So rather than becoming anxious or disheartened by the absence of immediate evidence, recognize that delays are a natural and necessary part of manifestation. They are the quiet construction, the meticulous preparation, and the invisible arrangement of all that you seek. When the time is right, your desire will appear, not as a fragment, but as the complete, fully formed reality that has been quietly constructed in your favor. Delays are simply the prelude to your ultimate victory, a reminder that the unseen world is always working, always building, and always bringing your dreams into perfect expression. For Albright, your inner state is the true cause of everything you experience, while outer circumstances are merely its shadow, a reflection of the reality you carry within. Too often, people look to the external world for evidence of their desires, believing that conditions must first change before they can feel fulfilled, confident, or happy. Yet this is a reversal of truth. It is not the world that creates your state. It is your state that creates the world. Your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions act as the invisible blueprint, and life itself obeys the patterns you maintain internally. What you see outside is always secondary. It is a mirror, an echo, a shadow cast by the inner reality you cultivate. This principle explains why two people can live in seemingly identical circumstances yet experience life in completely different ways. One may see struggle and limitation, while the other sees opportunity and abundance. The difference is not in the external world, it is in the state each person occupies within. Your inner state is powerful because it determines how you interpret every event, how you respond to every situation, and how you attract experiences into your life. Outer circumstances cannot dictate your reality unless you allow them to influence your internal state. The outer world is consistent only with the inner world. If you persist in fear, doubt, or frustration, you will see evidence of these states reflected in your life. If you maintain a sense of certainty, faith, and fulfillment, the world will adjust accordingly. This does not mean that challenges disappear, but it does mean that your perception, response, and the ultimate outcome are shaped by the inner state you occupy. The shadow cannot act independently. It can only mirror what is already established within. Understanding this shifts the locus of control from external events to your consciousness. Instead of reacting to what happens outside, you focus on what you hold inside. Your imagination, your assumptions, and your feelings become the instruments of creation. When you inhabit the end result, when you live and feel as if your desires are already realized, the outer world is compelled to correspond. It cannot resist the magnetic force of a sustained inner state. This is why the inner world must be treated with reverence and discipline, for it is the soil in which every experience grows. Many fail to grasp this because they equate seeing with believing. They wait for proof before they feel confident. They wait for circumstances before they feel worthy. They wait for opportunity before they feel successful. But this is backward. The proof always follows the cause. The seed must be planted, nurtured, and matured before the fruit appears. Your inner state is that seed, and the outer world is its inevitable harvest. By focusing on your inner state, you reclaim power over your life. You no longer depend on shifting circumstances to dictate your peace, your joy, or your fate. You cultivate a consciousness that generates its own reality, knowing that everything external is simply a reflection of what is firmly established within. Outer circumstances are powerless to resist a consistent inner state. They may wobble, they may resist temporarily, but eventually the shadow aligns perfectly with the light of your consciousness. To master your life, therefore, is to master your inner state. To shift your experience is not to battle external conditions, but to harmonize your mind, heart, and imagination with the reality you desire. When your inner state is unwavering, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Your inner world is the true cause. The outer world is merely its faithful shadow. When you refuse to fold, when you hold fast to your vision, your conviction, and your inner state despite every challenge or appearance of delay, reality has no choice but to bend toward your persistence. Persistence is not merely stubbornness or blind effort. It is a sustained inner assumption, a refusal to abandon the feeling of the end you desire. When you maintain this inner fidelity, the universe, which is always responsive to consciousness, begins to adjust, rearrange, and align everything in perfect accordance with the reality you have assumed. What seems immovable in the outer world cannot withstand the consistent pressure of an unwavering inner state. The world often tests your resolve. Appearances may suggest resistance, circumstances may seem contrary, and people may fail to respond as you expect. These are not signs that your dream is impossible or that the universe is uncooperative. They are tests of your commitment, invitations to strengthen your inner state, and opportunities to demonstrate that your belief in the unseen is greater than your reliance on the visible. When you persist, when you refuse to fold, you are signaling to the unseen realm that your desire is no longer negotiable. This refusal to yield creates a magnetic force that reality cannot resist. Persistence operates on a level beyond effort or struggle. It is the unshakable awareness that what you desire is already yours in the unseen, and the determination to maintain that awareness regardless of outer appearances. Every thought, feeling, and action that aligns with this inner state adds pressure to reality. The outer world, which reflects your inner assumptions, is compelled to comply with the law of correspondence. In essence, the universe has no choice but to bend, slowly or suddenly, to match the reality you continue to inhabit internally. Many give up too soon because they are seduced by the evidence of their senses. They look at delays, obstacles, or a lack of visible progress and interpret it as failure. But the truth is that the unseen is always working. It is merely following its own timeline. The person who refuses to fold becomes a force of inevitability. Their steadfast inner assumption creates a momentum that the outer world must ultimately acknowledge. Doors open, opportunities present themselves, circumstances shift, and people respond, all as a natural consequence of inner persistence. Refusal to fold is not passive, it is active faith. It requires discipline to return repeatedly to the feeling of the end, to inhabit the reality you desire, even when external proof is absent. It requires courage to stand firm in your conviction while the world seems to resist. Yet this very act, this unwavering persistence, sets in motion the invisible currents that bring your desire into manifestation. The outer world may lag, it may challenge, and it may delay, but it cannot withstand the consistent, conscious pressure of a mind and heart aligned with their true desire. Persistence breaks through. What once appeared immovable yields. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Reality, which once seemed indifferent, now conspires in your favor. When you refuse to fold, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You become the magnet, the orchestrator, and the cause of the unfolding reality. The universe bends, rearranges, and cooperates, not because it is forced, but because persistence in consciousness is the law to which all things must obey. Your steadfast refusal to fold ensures that the world outside becomes a faithful reflection of the unyielding truth you hold within. Everything you desire already exists. It is complete, whole, and perfect within the realm of your imagination. The fulfillment of your dreams is not something that is waiting to be created in the external world. It has already been formed in the invisible. What appears as delay, waiting, or struggle in the outer world is simply the unfolding of a process that has already been completed internally. You are not creating your desire from scratch. You are aligning yourself with a reality that already exists, walking toward the unveiling of what has been quietly perfected within your consciousness. To understand this, you must first recognize the power of the mind and imagination. Every circumstance, event, and experience in your life originates from your inner state. The desires you hold, the visions you entertain, and the assumptions you persist in are seeds planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. These seeds are not partial or incomplete. They exist as fully grown realities within the invisible. The act of imagining, feeling, and assuming is the acknowledgement that your desire is already a fact. The outer world simply takes time to conform to the internal truth you have established. The journey toward manifestation is a journey of alignment, not creation. You are not waiting for new conditions or external validations. You are walking into the realization of what has already been accomplished within. Your role is to embody the state of the wish fulfilled, to feel the joy, satisfaction, and completeness of your desire now, before the world presents it as evidence. By doing so, you create a magnetic field that draws the invisible into the visible, that brings the already finished into tangible form. Delays are not denials. They are simply the time it takes for the world outside to mirror what has been long completed inside. Many struggle because they look to the external world for confirmation, believing that fulfillment must appear first in their circumstances. They chase results, react to obstacles, and measure progress by appearances. This is a reversal of the natural order. The unseen is the cause, the seen is the effect. By living in alignment with the end result, by assuming it internally as already true, you set in motion the forces that allow the external world to catch up with the internal reality. You are walking along a path that has already been paved. Each step is a conscious participation in the manifestation of what is already complete. This perspective changes the way you respond to challenges, delays, and setbacks. You no longer see them as proof of lack, but as part of the natural unfolding of your finished desire. Patience is not passive. It is an active acknowledgement that the inner reality is already perfect. Every thought, every feeling, and every choice becomes an opportunity to reinforce the state of fulfillment you hold within. You are constantly moving toward the revelation, the unveiling, and the expression of that which exists invisibly but completely. And unlike the inherent enormity curse, which is that theft of your desires are not distant goals to be chased, they are present realities to be assumed. Everything you long for is already finished within you. The world outside is simply catching up to your inner truth. By maintaining faith, by living in the feeling of the end, and by walking with unwavering belief, you allow the external circumstances to align naturally with the perfection that already exists internally. You are not creating something new. You are witnessing the inevitable unveiling of what has long been complete. In conclusion, the journey of manifestation is not about forcing circumstances or chasing results. It is about cultivating the inner state that aligns with the reality you desire. Every delay, every unseen arrangement, and every challenge is simply part of the quiet orchestration happening behind the scenes. Your assumptions, persistence, and unwavering faith are the true forces shaping your life. When you hold your vision, embody the feeling of the end, and refuse to fold, reality has no choice but to respond. Everything you desire is already complete within. Your task is to maintain faith, stay aligned, and patiently walk toward its unveiling. The outer world is simply the reflection of your inner state, And as long as you remain steadfast, the manifestation of your desires is inevitable. Thank you for listening, and may you continue to trust the unseen and keep moving forward with faith and persistence. There comes a moment in every life when you discover that the greatest miracle you will ever hold is already in your possession. It is not a secret locked in some distant temple, nor a formula reserved for the chosen few. It is as close to you as your breath, as constant as your heartbeat, and as powerful as creation itself. Your words are magic, whether whispered softly, spoken with authority, or declared in silence within your own mind. Your words are seeds. And every seed, when planted, when watered, when believed, must bloom. You may not realize it yet, but all your life you have been speaking your reality into existence. Every phrase you repeat becomes a command. Every statement you utter becomes permission. Your world takes shape not by accident, but by the continuous echo of the words you allow to dominate your inner chamber. If you want to change your world, begin by changing your words. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because life does not respond to what you wish for or to what you beg for. Life responds to what you declare. The universe bends to the tone of your conviction. It molds itself to the picture you speak, as already done. The moment you say, I am, you are summoning creation itself, and everything that follows those two words becomes law for your reality. If you say, I am blessed, life rearranges itself to prove you right. If you say, I am unlucky, the same force will obey. The power is neutral. You give it direction. And so today I invite you to use the sacred tool you have always carried. Say this from the depth of your being. What I speak becomes. My words create my world. Say it with awareness. Say it with courage. Say it as someone who knows they are the author, not a spectator. Every great change begins with a spoken declaration. Every transformation begins with a new inner conversation. Your outer world cannot resist a word that is spoken from the feeling of its fulfillment. When you speak from the end, when you talk as though it is already yours, something opens within you and the world responds. Speak as the one who already has the thing you desire. Speak as the version of you who already lives the life you dream of. Speak as the one who knows that the unseen is more real than the seen. And watch how swiftly circumstances shift. Watch how people appear. Watch how doors open that were never meant to remain closed. For the moment you speak with faith, you activate the law that has always been waiting on you. You are not asking for permission. You are not hoping for miracles. You are commanding your world to align with your inner truth. So today, take your power back. Speak deliberately. Affirm with authority. Choose words that honor the life you wish to live. Because your words are magic. And when you speak from certainty, you can manifest anything. Your spoken word is creative power, and what you declare with conviction becomes the mold of your reality. Every word you release carries intention, vibration, and direction. It is not just sound traveling through air. It is an instruction to the unseen forces that shape your life. When you speak, you are not merely expressing thoughts. You are activating laws. You are commanding energy. You are planting seeds that will, with time and repetition, grow into the circumstances you eventually call your life. Most people underestimate the potency of their own voice. They speak casually, carelessly, and unconsciously, unaware that every phrase is a blueprint. Your speech is not separate from your destiny. It is the architect behind it. The tone in which you speak, the belief behind your words, and the emotional charge within your voice, all of these form the structure that reality must conform to. You are not hoping for a new experience, you are instructing it into existence. Words spoken with conviction have a different weight. They do not float lightly through your mind. They press into the substance of life, demanding form. When you say, I can, I will, or I am, with certainty, the world rearranges itself to support your declaration. Not because the world is obedient to you in a superficial sense, but because reality mirrors your inner state. The moment you speak with unwavering belief, you shift your self-concept, and when the self changes, everything connected to it must also change. Your spoken word becomes a mold and your life becomes its cast. If you speak of lack, the mold forms around scarcity. If you speak of abundance, it forms around prosperity. If you speak of failure, the mold shapes itself around limitation. And if you speak of victory, confidence, and possibility, the mold expands to contain greater outcomes. You cannot speak defeat and expect triumph. You cannot speak fear and expect courage. Your world cannot outgrow the container your words create. This is why the inner conversations you repeat day after day matter just as much, perhaps even more, than the words you say aloud. Your silent speech is the script of your life. Every private declaration sends a signal. Every repeated thought deepens the mold. And every emotion-infused phrase becomes law. When you understand this, you become extremely selective about the words you allow to pass through your mind and lips. When you speak with conviction, you are not describing your reality, you are generating it. You are not reacting, you are creating. This is the difference between living as a passive observer and stepping into your role as the conscious author of your life. Speak from faith, and faith becomes substance. Speak from the end result, and the end result begins to take shape. Speak as the person you desire to become, and that person will emerge. Your words are not powerless. They are creative forces, shaping what you experience next. Speak deliberately. Speak with intention. Speak from a place of knowing. For what you speak with conviction becomes the mold your future must fill. Assume the feeling behind your words, for manifestation responds to emotion, not empty phrases. Words alone, without emotional charge, are hollow shells. They make sound, but they do not create substance. True creation begins when your words are fused with feeling, when the emotion within you matches the reality you are speaking into existence. The universe does not respond to wishful thinking or mechanical affirmations spoken without belief. It responds to the frequency of your inner state, the vibration carried by your words, and the emotion that fuels them. Emotion is the engine behind manifestation. It is the magnetic field that draws your desired outcome toward you. When you assume the feeling of what you want, even if only in your imagination, you begin to live in the end. You shift your inner atmosphere to reflect the reality you are calling forth. Once your inner world changes, your outer world must follow, because the outer is only a projection of the inner. You cannot feel unworthy and expect abundance. You cannot feel afraid and expect courage. You cannot feel separate from your desire and expect it to become yours. The feeling is what bridges your current state to your future state. To assume the feeling means to step into the emotional reality of your desire as though it is already done. It is not pretending in the childish sense, but embodying in the spiritual sense. You are not acting as if you have it. You are acknowledging that within the unseen realm, it already exists, and you are aligning with that truth. When you speak your affirmations from this place, your words carry power. They are no longer empty repetitions. They are declarations backed by the energy of fulfillment. This is why some people repeat affirmations for months and see nothing change. Their words are filled with doubt, fear, or longing. They speak from lack rather than from possession. Manifestation is not activated by the number of times you repeat a phrase, but by the emotional state you inhabit while saying it. One sentence, spoken from true conviction, backed by genuine feeling, carries more creative power than 1,000 repeated without heart. Emotion is also the language of the subconscious mind, the part of you that actually manifests your reality. The subconscious does not respond to logic or reasoning, it responds to feeling. When you assume the emotional state of your desire, you impress that state upon your subconscious, and once impressed, it begins to rearrange your life to match it. This is why you must feel it real before it becomes real. Emotion writes a script of your future, and words fueled by emotion bring that script to life. So speak, but do not speak mechanically. Speak from the end. Speak with the emotional certainty of someone who knows their desire is already theirs. Let your words carry the vibration of gratitude, relief, joy, or confidence. Whatever emotion aligns with the fulfillment of your wish, feel that emotion in your chest. Let it rise through your voice and let it saturate your inner world. For manifestation does not respond to empty phrases, it responds to the feeling behind them, the feeling that says, "This is already mine." Speak from the end, not toward it. Declare what already is, not what you hope will be. This is one of the most profound principles of manifestation, and yet it is the least understood. Most people speak from desire, not fulfillment. They speak from longing, not completion. They speak from a place of I wish, I want, or I hope, forgetting that these states only reinforce the absence of what they seek. When you speak from desire, you confirm that you do not yet possess the thing you want. But when you speak from the end, you claim it as already yours. And creation responds to that certainty. Speaking from the end means adopting the identity, tone, confidence, and emotional state of the version of you who already has the outcome. It means assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and letting that state dictate your words. You are not asking for something to come. You are affirming that it has already arrived. This shift from future tense to present reality is the difference between hope and creation. Hope waits, creation assumes. When you speak from the end, you collapse the distance between where you stand and where you want to be. You stop chasing your desire and begin embodying it. You move from seeking to being, from longing to living. Every word you speak from this perspective carries the vibration of completion. The universe operates on vibration, not phrasing, and it reflects what you are, not what you wish to be. When your inner speech announces it is done, life mirrors that state. Speaking toward the end is rooted in separation. You say things like, "One day I will succeed." soon my life will improve, or hopefully things will work out. Even if these statements seem positive, they keep your desire at arm's length. You are always looking forward, never standing in the fulfillment. You are mentally placing your manifestation in a distant future, and the future never arrives. Each time you affirm hope instead of completion, you unknowingly delay the result. But when you shift to speaking from the end, everything changes. You begin to speak as the successful version of yourself, the healed version, the blessed version, the abundant version. Your words take on authority, your tone carries certainty. You no longer describe your life from the viewpoint of someone who lacks, you describe it from the viewpoint of someone who has already received. This inner shift is powerful because the subconscious mind accepts whatever you assume as true. When you speak from the end, you impress this truth upon your subconscious, and it begins orchestrating your circumstances to match your inner declaration. This is why statements like, I am, it is done, and everything I desire is already mine, are far more powerful than I will or I hope. The present tense creates, the future tense postpones. You must speak as the creator, not the seeker. To speak from the end is to trust that the unseen is more real than the visible. It is to walk through life with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their desire is already secure. It is to align your words with your fulfilled state and live from the reality of completion. When you speak from the end, you declare what already is, and creation has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you. Your inner conversation is your true script, and the unseen dialogue you entertain becomes the force that shapes your seen world. Long before anything appears in your outer experience, it first takes root in the quiet chambers of your mind. Every day you hold conversations that no one hears but you. You replay old stories, imagine new situations, argue, justify, fear, hope, and anticipate, all within the invisible space of thought. These silent dialogues are not meaningless mental noise. They are the blueprint of your future. The world you walk through is only a reflection of the world you have been speaking within yourself. The space between your people often focus on their spoken words, yet it is the unspoken ones, the constant self-talk, assumptions, and inner narratives that create the strongest impressions. The outer world is simply an echo of your inner world. If your inner conversation is filled with doubt, insecurity, and defeat, then your outer experience will mirror those states. If your inner dialogue is confident, peaceful, and aligned with your desire, then life will rise to meet that mindset. The unseen becomes the seen. Your mind is never silent. Even when your mouth is closed, you are speaking to yourself. And because your subconscious responds more to internal dialogue than external words, what you repeatedly say within becomes your identity. You may try to speak positively aloud, but if your silent conversations contradict your spoken affirmations, the inner story wins every time. The subconscious accepts the most consistent voice, not the loudest. This is why changing your life requires changing the way you speak to yourself. You must pay attention to the script running in your mind. Are you mentally doubting your abilities? Are you imagining negative outcomes? Are you arguing for your limitations? Are you secretly preparing for disappointment? Every repeated inner conversation is a claim. Every assumption you rehearse is a seed planted. Your subconscious mind hears it all and shapes your world accordingly. But the good news is that the inner script is yours to rewrite. You are not bound to the old story unless you keep repeating it. You can begin at any moment to craft new conversations that align with your desired reality. Instead of imagining conflict, imagine harmony. Instead of expecting loss, expect gain. Instead of replaying failure, rehearse success. These mental dialogues, though invisible, carry creative power. They impress the subconscious with new patterns that eventually express themselves in the outer world. The inner conversation is also where you practice being the version of yourself you want to become. If you want confidence, speak to yourself as the confident version. If you want abundance, let your inner voice reflect the mindset of someone who is already provided for. If you want love, speak inwardly as someone already cherished. You cannot become someone new while repeating the inner script of your old self. Life will always present a reflection of your dominant inner dialogue. The world responds to the story you consistently tell yourself, not the story you tell others. When you make your inner conversations align with your desires, the outer world shifts to match them. The unseen dialogue becomes the seen reality, and your inner script becomes the stage on which your life unfolds. Words repeated with faith shift your self-concept, and your self-concept determines what you manifest. Everything you experience in life flows from who you believe yourself to be. Your self-concept is the silent foundation beneath every action, every reaction, every decision, and every expectation. You cannot consistently think, speak, or live in a way that contradicts the identity you hold in your deepest mind. If you see yourself as limited, life will reflect limitation. If you see yourself as powerful, life will mirror that power. The external world bends to the internal image you carry. This is why repetition, especially repetition of words spoken with faith, becomes such a potent tool of transformation. When you repeat words with conviction, not mechanical habit, but genuine belief, you begin to overwrite old mental programs. You dissolve old identities that no longer serve you. You plant new assumptions that begin to express themselves as changes in personality, behavior, and destiny. Words become seeds, and when you plant them consistently with faith, they grow into the self you desire to embody. Faith is the key. Words without faith bounce off the surface of the mind. They do not penetrate, they do not root, they do not transform. But words repeated with feeling, with certainty, with the quiet knowing that what you say is true, these words reach the subconscious. They travel deep into the fertile soil where identity is formed, and they begin to reprogram the way you see yourself. When your self-concept changes, everything else must change with it. Most people try to shift their lives by changing outer conditions, unaware that their inner identity will always recreate the same patterns. You can change jobs, relationships, environments, and habits, but if you still carry the same self-concept, you will eventually repeat the same experiences. Change must begin from within. You must become the person who naturally manifests what you desire before the desire can show up. Words repeated with faith help you do exactly that. They reshape your concept of I. When you say, I am worthy, with true belief, your subconscious begins to align your actions and circumstances with worthiness. When you say, I am abundant, your mind shifts to the identity of someone who expects and attracts abundance. When you say, I am chosen, successful, loved, or favored, and you speak these words with faith, you are not merely affirming, you are redefining yourself. And reality can only reflect the identity you assume. Self-concept is destiny. You cannot manifest anything inconsistent with the person you believe yourself to be. This is why inner work is more powerful than outer effort. When you shift your self-concept, manifestations that once seem impossible become natural, effortless, and automatic. You no longer fight for change, you become the change. You no longer chase blessings, you become the version of yourself that naturally receives them. Your words, when infused with faith, are the tools that carve your new identity. Speak them consistently. Speak them confidently. Speak them until they are no longer affirmations, but truths. Truths you feel, truths you live, truths you embody, for your self-concept determines what you manifest, and your words, spoken with faith, determine your self-concept. What you say about yourself becomes law in your world, and this is why you must affirm consciously, not carelessly. Every statement you make about yourself, whether spoken aloud or whispered in the privacy of your mind, creates a decree that shapes the conditions of your life. You are always declaring something. The only question is whether you are doing it deliberately or unconsciously. When your words are careless, your life becomes a series of unintended outcomes. But when your words are conscious and intentional, your life becomes a reflection of your deepest truth. Your identity is built upon the sentences you repeat. If you habitually say, "I'm unlucky, I never get opportunities, nothing works out for me," or "I always struggle," you are not simply describing your life, you are commanding it. The subconscious mind accepts whatever you confidently state about yourself. It does not argue, it does not evaluate, it does not question, it simply obeys. And once it accepts something as true, it begins to organize your experiences around that truth. You become the living expression of the story you repeat. This is why it is dangerous to speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. The subconscious mind does not understand humor, sarcasm, or exaggeration. It registers the words, absorbs the meaning, and shapes your identity accordingly. When you say, "I'm so stupid," "I'm always broke," "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do this," you are unknowingly giving your subconscious the very blueprint of limitation. Your life then bends itself around those limitations, reinforcing the very things you wish to escape. But the moment you begin to speak consciously, intentionally choosing words that align with your highest self, you reclaim your power. Conscious affirmation is not about pretending or lying to yourself. It is about choosing the version of yourself you wish to embody and repeatedly speaking it into existence until your subconscious accepts it as fact. When you say, "I am capable, I am worthy, I am favored, I am powerful, I am abundant," you plant seeds of identity that grow into the reality you desire. These words become the new laws of your world. They shape your decisions, influence your expectations, attract new circumstances, and shift your emotional state. A person who affirms worthiness makes different choices than a person who affirms lack. A person who declares abundance attracts different opportunities than someone who declares struggle. A person who speaks from confidence experiences a different world than one who speaks from fear. Affirmation is not merely positive thinking, it is identity formation. You are deciding who you are. And once you decide, everything in your reality rearranges itself to match that identity. This is why conscious affirmation is one of the most powerful tools of transformation. It overrides old programming and constructs a new internal framework that your outer world must eventually reflect. To affirm consciously means to speak with awareness, intention, and conviction. It means choosing your words as carefully as you would choose the blueprint of a house you plan to build. You would never allow an architect to scribble random shapes and call it a plan. Yet many people allow random thoughts, careless words, and emotional reactions to serve as the blueprint of their lives. Your words are law. They set the standard for what you allow, what you expect, and what you receive. Speak with purpose. Speak with authority. Speak with the awareness that every sentence shapes the world you step into next. Affirm consciously, for your words determine your destiny. Everything returns to one simple truth. You are the creator of your reality, and your words are the tools of creation. Your speech is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between imagination and manifestation. When you speak with intention, emotion, and conviction, you breathe life into the unseen. You shape the very fabric of your experience. Your words become the law your world must obey. They mold your self-concept, command your circumstances, and summon the life you desire. So speak not from fear, but from faith. Not from longing, but from fulfillment. Not from weakness, but from the power that already lives within you. Choose every word as though it were a seed of destiny, because it is. Let your inner conversation match the life you wish to live. Let your affirmations rise from certainty, and let your voice declare what is already yours in the unseen. When you speak from your highest self, life listens. When you speak from the end, creation responds. When you speak with conviction, your world transforms. Your words are magic. Use them wisely, boldly, and consciously. Thank you. Thank you for listening, for opening your heart, and for choosing to step into the power that has always been within you. May your words shape miracles. May your voice create new beginnings. And may you walk forward knowing that everything you speak with faith is already on its way to you. Thank you. There comes a moment in every life when the invisible world becomes louder than the visible, when something within you whispers, "You were made for more than this moment." This whisper is not imagination in the ordinary sense. It is God revealing that He has already begun to move things in your favor. You may look at your life and say nothing seems to be changing, but hear this truth. God always moves in the unseen before He manifests in the seen. The shift you feel, the unrest, the desire, the vision, these are not accidents. They are divine signals announcing that something has already been released on your behalf. The world tells you to wait for proof, but God gives you a different kind of evidence. He gives you desire, and the desire is not a craving, it is confirmation. It is God's voice saying, "What you seek is already yours. Walk toward it." You are not waiting for the blessing. The blessing is waiting for you to align with it. Every time you imagine a better life, every time you rehearse a new version of yourself in your mind, you are shaping reality. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is the workshop of God. It is the place where unseen things begin to take form. Hearing, if only you knew what was happening behind the scenes on your behalf, you would never doubt again. When doors closed in your life, you assumed you were rejected. But heaven has no rejections, only redirections. What left you was never meant to carry you into your next chapter. God removed it because your destiny required it. And then, in moments you did not expect, help began to show up. A conversation, a connection, an opportunity, a shift in timing. None of it was random. It was divine choreography. God was placing people in the right positions, touching hearts, moving resources, softening circumstances, all for one purpose: your favor. Some of you have felt delayed, but delay is not divine punishment. Delay simply means God is arranging the stage so when the blessing arrives, nothing and no one can interfere with it. Timing is the final proof that God is involved. Look closely at your life today. You will see traces, evidence, fingerprints of a God who has been moving things long before you asked, long before you prayed, long before you even knew what you needed. Your desire, your vision, your inner shift, the closed doors, the unexpected help, all of it is proof. So lift your head, walk with confidence, step into your next season knowing this one truth: God is not preparing the blessing for you. He is preparing you for the blessing. And right now, in ways you cannot yet see, everything is moving in your favor. Your inner state is the quiet birthplace of every outer transformation that unfolds in your life. Long before you see the shift in your circumstances, long before opportunities appear, long before people step in to help you, something moves within you. This inward movement is not random. It is the first undeniable proof that God has already begun aligning external events in your favor. The world often insists that change begins from the outside, but the truth is the opposite. Everything in your life starts with a shift in consciousness. There are moments when you feel a new desire rising, almost out of nowhere. A longing for a better life, a clearer direction, a deeper sense of purpose. That desire is not simply emotional, it is divine communication. It is God awakening your spirit to something that is already prepared for you. The desire itself is evidence that the blessing exists. You could not want what was not already possible. You could not imagine what was not already forming in the unseen. Your inner state receives the signal first, long before your outer world catches up. When God begins moving things in your favor, He doesn't start by changing the circumstances around you. He starts by changing you. He strengthens your faith. He expands your vision. He awakens a sense of expectancy. This shift is gentle yet powerful. You begin to think differently, feel differently, walk differently. You notice that your old fears no longer hold the same weight. The limitations you once accepted no longer hold the same weight. The limitations you once accepted no longer hold the same weight. The limitations you once accepted no longer hold the same weight. The limitations you once accepted no longer hold the same weight. The limitations you once accepted no longer hold the same weight. The limitations you once accepted no longer hold the same weight. This is the moment where the miracle quietly begins. Your inner alignment becomes the magnet for divine orchestration. As your thoughts rise, so does your reality. As your state shifts, so do the events in your life. You start attracting opportunities that match your new inner condition. People appear who are aligned with your growth. Conversations open doors, resources come unexpectedly. This is not coincidence, it is spiritual law in motion. God works through your inner transformation to rearrange the outer world. Think of your inner state as the soil and God's promise as the seed. When the soil is ready, when you are aligned, receptive, expectant, the seed begins to grow. You may not see it at first, The growth happens underground, unseen, hidden. But the activity is real, and the proof is the subtle shift you feel in your spirit. Faith feels more natural, hope feels more stable, peace feels more accessible. That is the divine movement beginning to sprout. Every breakthrough in your life begins with an internal awakening. It is the moment you sense that life is about to change, even though nothing external has changed yet. This feeling is the spiritual confirmation that God has already gone before you. Your heart knows the blessing is on its way before your eyes do. So trust that internal shift. Believe the subtle whisper that says something good is coming. That whisper is not imagination. It is the announcement of divine alignment. When God is moving things in your favor, the first place you will see it is within you. The inner change is the evidence, the seed, the beginning of everything that will soon manifest in your world. What you consistently imagine becomes the silent architect of your future. Most people shrug off imagination as fantasy or wishful thinking, but imagination is far more sacred and far more powerful than that. It is the invisible workshop where God begins to shape the very path you will soon walk. Every image you hold, every scene you rehearse, every outcome you emotionally feel in your mind becomes a blueprint for your outer life. What you imagine is not a mere picture, it is a spiritual command, a signal that sets reality into motion. When you allow your mind to dwell deliberately on a desired end, you activate a divine partnership. God placed imagination within you not as a toy but as a tool. It is the mechanism through which spiritual intention becomes physical manifestation. The outer world is not the origin of your experiences, it is the reflection of the inner images you have nurtured and believed. Without realizing it, you are constantly shaping tomorrow by the visions you entertain today. This is why consistent imagination is so potent. One fleeting thought may pass without impact, but a scene revisited over and over again is like carving a path through dense forest. The more you walk it, the clearer and more inevitable it becomes. When you imagine something repeatedly, you are training your inner world to accept that outcome as real. And once your inner world accepts it, life begins rearranging itself to match your new mental reality. Imagination is not passive. It summons the right people, aligns the right timing, and attracts the right opportunities. It dissolves obstacles you didn't even know were in your way. It influences your behavior, your decisions, and your sense of expectation without your conscious effort. You begin walking differently, speaking differently, thinking differently, because your inner vision is already living in the future you desire. This inner alignment becomes the magnetic force that pulls the outer world into harmony with it. When you imagine consistently, you are not escaping reality, you are preparing it. You are rehearsing the world God is guiding you toward. You are stepping into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, knowing that the emotional experience is the bridge through which the unseen becomes seen. Emotions fuel imagination, and imagination fuels creation. The heart and mind together create a spiritual frequency that heaven responds to. Think of imagination as divine permission. If you can hold the image long enough, if you can feel its truth deeply enough, God begins to orchestrate circumstances to match the picture you've embraced. Conversations shift, doors open, directions change. Seemingly random events align perfectly, revealing that nothing was random at all. Your imagination was planting seeds and God was watering them in silence. Every great transformation begins as an unseen image. Every breakthrough is born in a quiet moment when you allow yourself to envision something greater, and every blessing that appears in your life begins first as a picture formed in the sanctuary of your mind. So guard your imagination, feed it with the life you want, not the life you fear. Embrace the truth that what you imagine consistently is already taking shape, already being built, already being prepared for you. Your imagination is not fantasy, it is the creative force through which God shapes your path and writes your destiny. There are moments in life when a door closes so suddenly, so unexpectedly, that it leaves you questioning everything. You may feel abandoned, overlooked, or pushed aside. But what appears as rejection from the outside is often divine orchestration from within. Closed doors are never God's way of saying, "You are not worthy." They are His way of saying, "This is not the path that leads to your destiny." When you see a door closed, it is not the path that leads to your destiny. When something leaves your life, whether it is a person, a job, an opportunity, or a dream you held tightly, it is not a sign of divine disfavor. It is evidence that you are being redirected towards something far better than what you were willing to settle for. Every closed door is a form of protection. You may not recognize it in the moment, but God sees the full picture, the intentions you couldn't see, the consequences you didn't foresee, the timing you didn't understand. You might view the door as a pathway to something good, while God knows that it would have led you into confusion, stagnation, or unnecessary pain. Sometimes He closes a door not to take something from you, but to take you away from something that would have hindered your growth or delayed your purpose. The truth is that we cling to what is familiar even when it no longer serves us. We hold on to relationships that have expired, environments that limit us, or opportunities that underpay our potential. And when God closes the door, we grieve because we focus on what we lost instead of what we're being led toward. But if you look closely, you will realize that every time a door closed in your life, something greater eventually replaced it. Something that aligned better with your calling, your identity, your healing, and your future. Closed doors are also divine timing at work. What you think you want right now may not be what you are prepared to handle. God will not allow you to walk into a room you are not yet ready to manage. A delay is often a strategy. The door may open later, but at a moment when you are stronger, wiser, and more capable of holding the blessing without losing yourself in the process. The door that is closed today may become the door that saves you tomorrow. Sometimes the redirection is subtle. A plan falls apart, a conversation doesn't happen, something you expected doesn't come through. Other times it is dramatic. A relationship ends, a job disappears, a place you depended on becomes unavailable. Either way, the redirection is purposeful. God shifts things so that your life rises to match the future He has prepared for you. The door that closes is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of a new alignment. And if you pay attention, you will notice that closed doors often lead you to unexpected opportunities. What you thought was a setback becomes the turning point. What felt like loss becomes liberation. What seemed like rejection becomes redirection toward a blessing that carries more peace, more growth, more fulfillment, and more purpose. So when a door closes, Don't mourn it as failure. Recognize it as divine movement. Trust that something is shifting in your favor, even when you cannot see it. What leaves your life is never meant to diminish you. It is meant to clear the path so you can walk boldly into the next chapter God has already prepared. There are seasons in your journey when help arrives from places you never expected, through people you barely knew, and in moments you didn't anticipate. This help is not accidental. It is not coincidence. It is a sign of invisible intervention, proof that God is working behind the scenes, aligning the right connections, and preparing the right circumstances for your elevation. When you begin to see unexpected support showing up in your life, understand this truth. You have entered a chapter where heaven is actively participating in your progress. Often you don't see the divine strategy until after the blessing unfolds. You think a person simply happened to cross your path or a door just happened to open at the right moment. But nothing is random when God is involved. Every connection has purpose. Every opportunity is orchestrated. Every resource is positioned with intention. God uses people as vessels, timing as a tool, and circumstances as pieces of a larger puzzle to guide you exactly where you need to go. Sometimes the help arrives quietly. Someone gives you advice that shifts your perspective, a stranger offers information that leads you to breakthrough, or a friend encourages you at the exact moment you are ready to quit. Other times, it arrives dramatically. A job offer you didn't apply for, a financial opportunity that appears out of nowhere, or a person stepping in to open a door you couldn't open on your own. These moments are not luck. They are divine fingerprints. God moves through people because elevation is rarely a solitary journey. The blessing you are walking into often requires the hands, voices, and decisions of others. This is why He places you in the right environments, prepares the hearts of those who will help you, and aligns their timing with your destiny. Someone thinks of you unexpectedly. Someone recommends you without being asked. Someone invests in your potential even when you feel unprepared. This is God whispering your name into rooms you haven't entered yet. You may wonder why certain people show up in your life suddenly, offering support, favor, or opportunities. It's because your spirit has shifted into alignment with a new season, and God responds to that shift by bringing in the individuals who carry the next piece of your puzzle. These helpers are not always permanent. Some appear only for a moment, just long enough to lift you into your next level. They are divine appointments disguised as everyday interactions. Even resources appear when God is elevating you. Money comes unexpectedly, information finds you at the right time, doors you never knocked on open wide, ideas flow effortlessly. These resources are confirmations that heaven is invested in your journey. The path ahead requires provision, and God ensures you have what you need precisely when you need it. Elevation is never accidental. It is prepared, it is supported, it is guided from above. And the unexpected help that shows up in your life is the evidence. So when people appear with kindness, when opportunities arrive without explanation, when resources come without struggle, recognize the intervention behind it. God is arranging your steps, preparing your rise, and ushering you into a future that requires support from beyond your own strength. Unexpected help is not a coincidence. It is a divine signal that your life is shifting upward, and heaven is making sure nothing stands in your way. There are moments when life seems to move slower than your prayers. when doors don't open as quickly as you hoped, and when blessings feel like they are taking too long to arrive. In those seasons, it is easy to assume something is wrong, that you are forgotten, overlooked, or somehow off course. But delay is rarely a sign of denial. More often, it is a divine strategy. Timing is not working against you. Timing is being meticulously aligned to maximize your blessing. What feels like waiting is actually preparation, protection, and positioning for something far greater than what you asked for. A miracle is never rushed. A miracle is constructed, and construction takes time. There are layers to your blessing that you cannot see yet. There are people being prepared, circumstances being reshaped, environments being arranged, and opportunities being formed behind the scenes. God is not simply giving you what you desire. He is preparing the version of the blessing that fits the fullness of who you are becoming. A premature blessing can become a burden, and a rushed miracle can collapse under the weight of unpreparedness. That is why divine timing matters. In delay, God is shaping you. He is developing patience, deepening your faith, cleansing your intentions, sharpening your discernment, and enlarging your capacity. You are not being stalled, you are being strengthened. What you are waiting for requires a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of you, a version that can receive without fear, sustain without breaking, and multiply without losing identity. The delay also protects you from unseen dangers. Sometimes the timing is not wrong, the environment is. The people connected to the blessing are not ready yet. The place you desire to go is not stable yet. Or the path you're asking for would lead you into harm if you took it too soon. God sees what you do not see. He knows what you're walking toward long before you arrive. So He slows you down, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Divine delay also aligns opportunities in ways you could never design yourself. Think of all the seemingly random events that must intersect perfectly for a breakthrough to manifest. Someone has to leave a position for you to step into it. A conversation has to take place at the right moment. A door has to unlock from the inside before you can walk through it. These alignments take time, and God orchestrates them with precision. It always costs you to walk out because the timing of your blessing is not incidental, it is intentional. And when it arrives, it will not be fragile or temporary, it will be whole, complete, and undeniable. You will look back and realize the waiting was not wasted time, it was essential time. It was the season in which you were being shaped into the person capable of carrying what you asked for. The miracle you seek is not delayed, it is being curated. Every day of waiting is a day of divine preparation. And when the timing finally aligns, the blessing will appear effortlessly, as if it had been waiting for you all along. Desire is one of the most misunderstood spiritual signals in human life. Many people treat their desires as random emotions or fleeting wishes, but true desire, the kind that settles in your heart and refuses to leave, is something far deeper. It is not simply your longing, it is God's whisper. It is the inner confirmation that what you seek has already been prepared for you in the unseen. You do not desire what is impossible for you. You desire what is already aligned with your destiny. The moment a genuine desire is born in you, it carries its own evidence. The longing itself is the proof. You feel pulled toward a future that your outer life has not yet caught up with. yet something within you recognizes it as real. This is because desire is not created by external circumstances. It comes from the divine blueprint within your spirit. It is the soul remembering what God has already designed for you. Desire is God's way of speaking to you without words. It is His method of turning your attention toward the next chapter of your purpose. He places the feeling before the manifestation so your inner world can begin to prepare for what is coming. Every time you feel the tug of a dream, the ache for something more, the quiet yearning for a high level of life, you are not being teased, you are being informed. You might not see the blessing yet, but the blessing sees you. It is already in motion, already forming, already waiting for the right moment to enter your life. Desire is the bridge that connects you to it. The purpose of desire is not to frustrate you, it is to guide you. It influences your decisions, shifts your focus, stretches your imagination, and expands your faith. It prepares you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for the life you are being called into. Many people ignore their desires because they fear disappointment. But the very desire you fear is the one that confirms fulfillment. Fear appears only because the desire touches something sacred, something connected to your true purpose. Desires that come from ego disappear quickly. Desires that come from God remain. They grow, they deepen. They pull you forward even when circumstances seem unchanged. When you embrace your desire, you align yourself with the path prepared for you. You begin to notice opportunities that match your longing. You attract people who support your vision. Your inner state shifts, and life begins rearranging itself to meet your expectation. This is not imagination, it is spiritual law. Desire is never given without the means for fulfillment. The longing is the seed, and God provides everything required to grow it into reality. The timing, the connections, the resources, the ideas, they come because they are already attached to the desire itself. So do not dismiss what you long for. Listen to it, honor it, follow it. The desire placed within you is the evidence that the blessing already exists. What your heart seeks is not a fantasy. It is a preview, and your longing is God's way of saying, "This is yours. Move toward it. I have already prepared it for you." Your desire is not the beginning of the blessing, it is the revelation of it. Recognize it as the spiritual proof that fulfillment is already on its way. There comes a point in every journey when you realize that nothing in your life has been random. The shifts within you, the visions you hold, the doors that closed, the unexpected help that appeared, the delays that shaped you, and the desires that refused to let go. All of it has been divine movement. God has been orchestrating your path with precision, aligning every experience to lift you into the life He prepared long before you even imagined it. You are not walking into your future alone. You are being guided, supported, redirected, and strengthened at every step. And as you look back, you will see the unmistakable pattern of grace woven through your entire story. Everything is working for your good, not by chance, but by divine intention. So step into your next chapter with confidence. Trust the unseen hand that has never stopped moving things in your favor. Believe that the best days of your life are not far away. They are already unfolding. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for allowing these words to speak life into your spirit. May you walk forward knowing that God's favor is already ahead of you.